Are you ready to go up, up, and away in Statesville, North Carolina? We're gearing up for the 49th Annual Carolina BalloonFest. Tune in to hear about that and more.
Welcome to Discover Statesville, the show that takes you on a captivating journey through the heart of one of North Carolina's most charming towns.
All right, welcome back to Discover Statesville. Today we're joined by Sam Parks, longtime balloon pilot and new executive director of the Carolina BalloonFest. Sam, welcome.
Yeah, Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you here with us.
This is kind of a treat to see your studio here and be part of the podcast.
That's right. Hey, we're glad to have you. So I guess to start off, Sam, maybe tell us about your history in the world of hot air ballooning.
Well, it's really directly connected to Statesville. And I tell the story that a balloon landed in my back pasture around 1986, I guess it was. I think that's about right.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, seems like many, many years ago. And the pilot doesn't even remember meeting me, and that's how important it is how we conduct ourselves, because you never really know the impact that you're going to have on someone's life. And in this particular case, Charles Willard, who was the national sales director for Tracy Barnes at the time at the Balloon Works, landed in my backyard, and I went out there to help him pack up the balloon. And I said, how can I get involved in this? This looks really cool. And he said, why don't you volunteer through the Chamber of Commerce? And lo and behold, I still have the letter that Danny Hearn sent me the very next year when he assigned me to an out-of-town pilot from Louisville, Kentucky. He was a veterinarian who came to participate, didn't know the roads, and I drove his truck. And that year, he gave me a hot air balloon ride, and it was that would have been either, and I can't remember if the rally in '86 was in September or October, because there was a time in which that we changed it, but they changed it back to September. Yeah. Lo and behold, the next year, I had my pilot's license, and I was flying, and at the time, it was the National Balloon Rally.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
Because Richard said you're the new executive director, but you're certainly not new to the Statesville, Carolina BalloonFest and ballooning. You used to be the balloon meister, right, for this festival. So tell us a little bit about that, and then tell us why you left us for a little while and what brought you back. Let's talk about that.
Thank you. Yes. I got my pilot's license private in '88 and went on to become a commercial pilot. I've got a gas balloon rating, and I've flown balloons in almost every country around the world.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Tell us what a gas balloon rating is, because most of our listeners don't even know the difference about what you just said.
Some of us sitting right here.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Tell us that there is a different type of hot air balloon.
The most common one that you see is a hot air balloon. Those are the ones that you see out at the festival. You blow them up with a fan, essentially, and you turn on the burner and you heat up the air, and that's called a hot air balloon. But there are some balloons that you actually fill with a lighter than air gas, such as helium or hydrogen.
Okay.
I have a hydrogen balloon, which then you fill it up, and I can fly for great distances.
Wow.
So it's a different kind of animal altogether, because there's no heater, there's no burner. Obviously, you wouldn't want to have a burner around hydrogen fuel.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Remember the Hindenburg incident. But I can fly from distances that's over 1,000 miles.
Wow.
And your fuel, whereas propane is your fuel for hot air, sand is your fuel, if you will, for gas balloons.
Oh, cool.
So the more sand you can carry on board, and you dip it out each time the gas cools, and you go back up again.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I interrupted you.
That's okay.
Balloon meister, yeah.
Yes. Many, many years ago, I guess it was around mid-'90s or so, I was asked to be the balloon meister. I did that for a couple of years.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that I was in charge at the time of all flight operations, making the final decisions whether or not the balloons are going to go up, and if there's going to be any kind of a competition for that day, what it's going to be.
Yeah,
and I work closely with the FAA to make sure that the race and the competition and also the flights are all within the FAA regulations.
So sort of the liaison between festival operations and all the balloon pilots.
Absolutely. It's almost like air traffic control, but you have way more than just getting them out of a pattern. You basically over all the safety aspects of the entire rally. So I did that for a couple of years, took a break, and then before I left in 18, I had been the balloon meister for 12 years.
Wow.
And so I had a staff of about 20 different volunteers, such as weather people, scoring personnel, propane refueling managers, all that it really goes into putting this on just from a flight operation standpoint.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so where'd you go in 18?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back just a little bit further. In 2011, a friend of mine who's originally from Burlington, North Carolina, also a balloon pilot, took a job at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta as the event director.
Okay.
He had been there for a couple of years, and he asked me to come out to join the flight operations team for that event. So I started out there as the assistant balloon meister, and then a couple of years went to balloon meister. So I did that actually for 6 years. One day, one of the board of directors came to me and says, "How would you like to come to work for us full time?" And at the time, my wife and I had owned and operated a heating and air conditioning company in Statesville for 28 years.
Yeah, that's how I met you.
Yes, and the knees were saying you need to retire. And so it was a good time in our lives to basically just try a new adventure.
Right.
So we sold our heating and air conditioning company in spring of 2018. Moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I was the director of operations and then moved up to the executive director position.
Wow.
Now, that's the largest festival in
The world.
the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a 9-day event, which actually starts in about 9 days from now because it's right before the Carolina BalloonFest. But they typically have somewhere between 500 and 600 hot air balloons. And then last year, I organized the Gordon Bennett gas balloon race to take place there in Albuquerque. So they incorporate some gas balloons as well. But they have over 100 special shaped balloons, and it runs for 9 days. And the attendance is somewhere between 900,000 and 1 million people over that length of time.
Pretty
Amazing.
decent sized event, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I
We'd
retired.
have to build a few more hotels for that.
Well, we need a much bigger field.
And more time. Yeah. But that's cool. So, you've been back here, and when did you take over as the executive director of the Carolina BalloonFest?
Pretty much the end of May this year.
Okay.
I retired from the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta in December, considered what I wanted to do next. And as I mentioned, my friend Don Edwards, who moved to Albuquerque, he coincidentally had come back to Statesville and was running the Carolina BalloonFest. And he had an automobile accident this past winter, and he just decided that his priorities changed. He wanted to go to Alaska to fish.
Oh, man, I get
which
that,
I can,
Good for Don.
I
Shout
can
out to
understand
Don
that.
if you're listening. Yeah.
And so he called me up and said, "Hey, I know you're not doing anything. Are you going to fully retire, or are you going to work a little bit longer?" So, as they say, God just had a hand in this plan. So, as it turns out, I came back and started working here the end of May.
Wow, so right in it, because it's
Right in
just
it.
a few months of planning.
Right in it. So the 49th annual
It is.
Carolina Balloon Fest is coming up. So I imagine you are crazy busy with that. So we appreciate you breaking out time to be with us. And then
Well, it's raining today, so I can take a little bit of a break.
and then it's going to be full bore to the 50th, right? I mean, you got a lot of planning to do. But tell us special shapes, anything you want people to know about this year's event?
Well, what's interesting about this year's event, if you look at the chronological order, this whole thing got started in 1974. However, COVID put a pause on the Carolina Balloon Fest for 2 years. They missed 20 and 21. So if you count up the number of years and then count up the number of festivals, it doesn't quite line up.
Sure.
So, but this is the 49th festival.
Okay.
And traditionally, they have somewhere around 50 to 60 balloons, which is a very good sized festival. As a matter of fact, it's the second longest running festival of its kind, and it's the largest festival of its kind on the East Coast.
Okay.
So part of my goal is indeed to make Statesville the balloon capital of the East.
Well, we already are, self-proclaimed, but we are the
I'm
ballooning
going to
capital
spread
of the
it
East.
wide and far.
And no one can
gonna-
tell us otherwise.
You're going to ink it, right? Make it
We are.
permanent.
We are.
We are looking forward to that. Well, I saw you guys had posted. You do have some special shapes this year,
We do.
and it's more than just hot air balloons, right? There is you have a kids zone and lots of great
Live music,
festival
and
food
vendors, all
and
the
live music, a beer garden.
Beer and wine garden. We try to really make this an all family friendly event. Give the parents and the kids something to do all day long, and it's important for us that are involved in the event to keep that in mind. I mean, there are some mission statements that we adhere to. However, it really is all about the family. We want to make sure that the families have a great time, keep everyone safe. But yes, we do have a schedule that starts at approximately 7 o'clock in the morning, right after sunrise, and it runs all the way through till 8 o'clock at night.
For 3 days.
And so I think that's important to note, about the structure of the festival, in that, there is entertainment and things to do from the moment the gates open until they close. Because as you're well aware, as we're well aware, what we look at is, oh, it's a beautiful day outside, does not necessarily mean that it's a beautiful day for hot air balloons to fly.
That's right.
We're feeling the weather on the ground. Obviously, wind changes the higher we go. But I think that's one of the great sort of ways that they've built the Carolina Balloon Fest, is that even in the unfortunate circumstance that balloons can't take off, you guys will usually always try to at least do an inflation if possible.
Right.
And then in the event that doesn't work, there's still live music and all the other things to keep the family entertained.
Yeah.
It's still worth going to.
Absolutely. And really the culmination each night is the balloon glow. Mm-hmm. And that is something very special, that when the balloons light up at night with a special burner that they have, it makes them look like huge lightning bugs. And it's like a 7-story tall bug.
Yeah.
They just glow, and it's a beautiful thing. And
it's cool.
And so the weather team is constantly monitoring the weather to see if we can do some safe operations, and that's the key. We want mass ascensions. We want balloons flying in. We want to be able to provide those passenger rides that people really have as a bucket list item to be able to ride in a hot air balloon. But if that doesn't happen, we've got music, entertainment, we've got all kinds of things that they can do and see. Because you got to remember that balloons will take off at about sunrise and then within a couple hours of sunset. Mm-hmm. So there's a lag there in the middle that we need to entertain our guests.
Yeah. But you have some tethered balloon rides throughout the day.
Yes.
Which
and
is
that's
a lot
wonderful
of fun.
thing.
Yeah. And visiting with the balloon pilots. I see a lot of people doing
Fair
that.
food.
Yeah.
Fair food.
Fair food. Yeah. Sam, you mentioned your mission. Talk to us about the board, the Carolina Balloon Charities, and what the mission is and how you guys give back to the community. I think that's important.
I mentioned before that when I first started going, the event was actually called the National Balloon Rally. And they changed the name, which I fully supported. But we have a charities that's called National Balloon Rally Charities, and then we do business as the Carolina Balloon Fest.
Okay.
And so we have mission statement points of interest that I think are vitally important for us, and we keep this in our minds. We want to promote ballooning. We want to promote the city of Statesville, the state of North Carolina, but we also want to be able to give back to local charities. And so if we're successful and we're blessed with good weather, the idea is to be able to always put back a little bit of a nest egg so we can continue this legacy,
right,
but then give money back into the local charities so they can continue to do good things that they do.
Yeah. And in turn, I've seen the charities over the past several months saying, come help us volunteer for how many volunteers does it take to put on a Balloon Fest?
And as they say, it takes a village, and it's really true when it comes to putting on an event like this. I would say you're looking at approximately 800 to 900 different volunteers to help put this on, and it's only for 3 days.
Sure.
So there's a whole lot of moving parts behind the scene.
Yeah, both before and after as well.
We have a very passionate community about hot air ballooning, and
it's in our DNA.
100%.
Well, and it's cool because we had the Full Bloom Film Festival not too long ago, and that the opening night of that there was a hot air balloon flew, and we've got all these visitors in from outside of Statesville and from across the country, and it's like, oh my gosh, and it's always beautiful to see. It's always beautiful to see a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
But I was talking to some folks that were here from California, and it's like, I was like, really, that's not that rare. I mean, Balloon Fest is cool because you look up and you might see 20 or 30 balloons in there, but to see a hot air balloon in this area isn't all that abnormal, which is really cool.
It is, and that's the history that Tracy Barnes started in the early 70s, and then Bill Meadows continued by taking the rally up to Love Valley, and then bringing it back into Statesville was a great idea that the Chamber of Commerce did many, many years ago.
Yeah.
So we want to continue to keep this festival going for the next 49 and the next 50 years.
Right. Yeah. Well, we like the
Bigger
sound
and
of
better
that.
every year. That's exciting.
Yes.
So speaking about Statesville being a destination for ballooning, I always say any day is a day for hot air ballooning in Statesville, as long as
With
the wind.
exception is
today. As long as the wind and the weather's right, but weather permitting. But that's not the only thing you're working on, right? That's not the only reason you came back to Statesville. There's something else.
Yes. Born and raised right here. Yeah. This is my hometown, and I couldn't be happier to come back, not only for the Carolina BalloonFest, but also I'm working with a group of really passionate investors to possibly build a museum here to create a destination for people to come learn about hot air ballooning and learn about Statesville. Mm-hmm. The land has already been purchased out on I-40, and one day soon we hope to have a building out there standing tall and proud, promoting hot air ballooning and telling the legacy of Tracy Barnes and the history of ballooning here, not only in Statesville and Ardell County, but North Carolina.
Yeah, that's amazing.
North Carolina has a vast history of ballooning.
Yeah, it's a Carolina Balloon Museum, right?
Carolina Balloon Museum.
Yeah.
Yep. We've got a logo. We've got land. Right now we're in the information stage. We're meeting with some supporters at the state level, county level, city level, and right before the end of the year, you're going to see kind of a mass marketing campaign about how to go about finishing this project.
Right.
So, and at that time, is that when you'd start to release sort of mock-ups and sketches and things of what this museum would look like?
We already have a set of plans.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, we've already gone that far.
A 3D model.
We have a 3D model, and we're just trying to do this in the correct way, not get too far ahead of ourselves to build some groundswell of support. But yeah, we're happy to be talking about it and show you our plans. We're excited about it, but we're also excited about creating this as a welcome center for the city of Statesville, because it's literally going to be on the eastern edge of the city as you come in from, say, Moxville or Winston-Salem. So you'll have an opportunity to come in and learn all about Statesville as well.
Yeah.
Very excited about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we love it. So Carolina BalloonFest is always the third weekend of October, right? Keep it simple. So it's the 18th, 19th, and 20th.
It is.
Are there still some balloon flights available are there still some pilots that have flights available?
There are. And you can learn all about the event at our website, CarolinaBalloonFest.com. Mm-hmm. But just to kind of back up just for a minute, we actually start the rally Friday morning on an unofficial capacity.
Okay.
We have balloons flying all over the city from various locations, and our special shapes will be here. So it's kind of an unofficial start. But then our full official mass ascension is Friday afternoon. And yes, there are some some spots available for any of the other balloons that you can go on our website and just pick on a balloon and pick on a pilot, and that'll tell you whether or not they have some availability.
Yeah, how many balloons are there this year?
We have 55.
That's amazing. That's great.
55. And that seems to be our sweet spot for the size of festival grounds that we have. And that's also a great show for the crowd.
Yeah.
Well, I got to have room to inflate everybody.
We do, because we want a lot of people out there.
Sure.
Yeah. And still volunteer opportunities, too. If someone wants to go to CarolinaBalloonFest.com, be a part of it.
Absolutely. We welcome volunteers. We'll put you to work if you want to volunteer. All you have to do is just go to the volunteer page on our website and just click on the link that says, I want to volunteer.
Yeah. Well, not that all that is not exciting enough, but early on when we first started talking, you said you have your special gas license. And I just happen to know that you just got back from Germany, right? Doing something really cool. And I think our listeners would like to hear about that in your free time, you went and did this really cool thing with gas ballooning. So tell us about that adventure you just got back from.
Well, thank you. I had already signed up to be one of the directors for the Gordon Bennett gas balloon race when Carolina BalloonFest hired me. Mm-hmm. So I said, just remember, I'm going to be gone for about 10 days to Germany. But the Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett gas balloon race is the oldest form of aerial aviation racing in the world. It goes all the way back to 1906. And I mentioned earlier about the gas balloons that are filled with helium and hydrogen. There's always a long distance race each year. In this particular year, it took off from Münster, Germany.
Okay.
And the winners landed in the southwest corner of Portugal.
Wow.
About 2,100 kilometers over 3 days later. And it is an extremely, extremely unique sport where you're basically camping in the sky, but the rules are very simple. You all take off from one spot. Whoever flies the furthest is crowned the winner.
Camping in the sky, yeah. So
camping in the sky.
As directing of this race, are you flying? Or are you following them?
Mission control is basically set up a lot like your studio right here. And we also have what's called Gordon Bennett TV, where we do shows just like this. And each one of the balloons have a tracker on them, so we can track them like on the screen behind us here. So one of my responsibilities is to make sure that all the pilots can get through all the different airspaces as they traverse these different countries, because they went from Germany to France to Spain and then Portugal. And each one of them has a separate set of air traffic control measures. So one of my roles is to make sure that they all get up and they all get down safely. This year we had 21 different teams from 17 different countries participating.
Wow.
Very cool.
And who won?
The Austria 2 team.
Okay.
Yes. And so that means that in 2 years, the race will take off from Austria.
All right.
The United States of America.
You'd have a Statesville gas balloon that can win that.
Mine is a little on the small size.
Yeah.
Mine wouldn't be very competitive.
Okay.
What size basket are these balloons?
Well, not much bigger than the table in which that we're sitting behind. And one side typically has a kick-out panel to where you can lay on a bench and stretch your feet out. But the way it normally works is one is taking a nap while the other pilot is flying. Mm-hmm. And then you switch off every 3 or 4 hours.
Kick-out panel like the side of the balloon basket opens up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, you gotta hang your feet out. Cindy would love that.
So, fun fact: when Richard and I started this podcast, August of 2023, so a little over a year ago, neither one of us had ever been on a hot air balloon flight.
Oh, well, that's sad.
We remedied that.
Yeah, we remedied it. We actually launched this podcast mid-air on Facebook Live.
That's a cool thing.
And luckily you couldn't tell that I was frozen in place. If the side of the basket was open, I might not have made it through. But I'd go anytime. It was the most amazing experience.
Well, then now that you've done it, let's do it again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We should do like an anniversary podcast.
There you go.
Just throwing it out there.
An anniversary podcast.
And it's like you say, I mean, I had never been in one before, and so it's, I mean, as soon as we were airborne, it's just like, oh my God. And when we landed, you're immediately like, I wonder when I can go do that again.
Yeah.
It's just that cool. There's just nothing like it.
There's a misconception about flying in a balloon. A lot of people think that you have this fear of really heights, but also you don't have any motion from the wind because you're moving with the wind. So it's very calm.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was
very tranquil.
It was unbelievable. I mean, just silence.
It was amazing, except for us talking.
Right. I'm talking to Charles, and we were up there with Charles Page, so it was like, if we do freak out, we're up there with Charles Page. Like, who better to be like, hey,
very good.
It's going to be okay, you know?
And he'd have to wait, hoping we'd stop talking so he could goose a little.
He does have to do that on occasion.
Yeah. It was great.
It comes down.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. And I have a severe fear of heights, and even at the very last minute, I was trying to figure out how to crawl out of the basket, and I think I let Michelle Hepler get in because she was chasing.
See, but it's hard to get in there, so it was just too difficult to get out of.
I'm talking to her, and I had convinced myself, I'm like, let's switch. And she's like, okay, if that's what you want to do. And then
she's like, ooh, balloon ride, nice.
And then like, oh wait, we're in the air.
And wait till you land.
Yeah, and there we were, and it was an.
Yep. Very cool. If you're listening and you've never been, go to the website, look up one of those spots.
Yeah,
go ahead and check that off the list
because
it's worthwhile.
Yes,
100% recommend it. So, is there anything else you want to make sure our listeners know about Carolina Balloon Fest or? ballooning in general?
Yes. Well, as far as Carolina Balloon Fest is concerned, you can also buy tickets there.
Okay.
And just remember that we have a free park and ride facility down at the Troutman Fairgrounds. So you go down there, there's no fee to park. You can get on a bus. There's no fee for the bus. And it drops you right off at the front gate of the Carolina Balloon Fest main entrance. And then the buses basically run every 30 minutes all day long. So you can just leave your car back at the fairgrounds, get on a bus, and leave all the driving to us. And you don't have to worry about getting in all that traffic.
Yeah.
So that's very easy. And something else that we've, actually two things that we've initiated this year that we haven't, that the organization hasn't done before, is that we've established a pin drop for Uber and Lyft rideshare. So if you don't want to drive and you've got somebody that's going to take you out there for rideshare, we've got a drop-off point and a pickup point. And then something really cool, because there's other things that Statesville is known for, and one of them is cycling. I think you and I were just talking about that before the show started.
Yeah.
Something that we're doing new this year is called Park and Bike.
Okay.
So if you're a cyclist, you can drive your vehicle with your bicycle on it, park at Celeste Hinkle School, get on your bicycle, and it's a 2.5-mile ride down Bethlehem Road, brings you in the VIP entrance, and we have what's called bike valet parking.
Oh man, that's a great idea.
Well, we're definitely going to help get the word out on that.
So then there's no charge for parking, of course. You just have to pay your entrance fee. But then leave your car at Celeste Hinkle, ride your bicycle in, you beat all the traffic, you get valet parking right up front. We will watch over your bike while you're enjoying the festival. When you're ready to leave, get your bike, head on out to your car.
That's a great idea.
Park and cycle,
that's
friends.
Another great family activity.
Heard it right here from Sam Parks. I think that's a great idea. I love that.
We want to promote that. This is our first year, so we're kind of anxious to see how it goes over.
Yeah. Well,
very cool.
You conquered Albuquerque. We have high hopes for you here in Statesville, Sam.
I'm very excited to be here.
I don't think I've said it yet, but welcome home, because
thank you very much.
I think we're blessed. We're lucky to have you here.
Well, I'm blessed to have a hometown like Statesville.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we invite you to discover Statesville, everyone. Make sure you don't miss the Carolina Balloon Fest. And go to statesvillenc.com to check out all the great things that are happening in our area. Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining Discover Statesville. You can email us at discover@statesvillenc.com. Check us out on Facebook at Discover Statesville NC, #Discover Statesville, and our website, statesvillenc.com. Catch us next week as we continue on our journey to uncover the hidden gems, culinary adventures, entertainment, and to be inspired and enlightened as we discover Statesville.